Have you ever wrestled with the idea of being vulnerable in a difficult conversation? Regardless of the leadership level or the amount of experience, all leaders struggle with the tension of being vulnerable or not. Hi, I'm Jeff Doolittle, and I'm going to break down for you what being vulnerable in a difficult conversation means for leaders. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel. In difficult conversations, followers want to know that their leader cares about them, but concerns about managing perceptions often keep leaders from showing vulnerability in the workplace. And when leaders are guarded in difficult conversations, it promotes distrust. Although leaders are expected to convey an image of competence and confidence and power, followers already know you're not perfect. Being vulnerable as a leader in a difficult conversation requires courage, and leaders have to learn to be comfortable without having all the information wanted or needed. Leadership vulnerability involves the willingness to take risks that might end in failure or create the best of what might be in an organization. If you want to identify your tendency to be vulnerable in difficult conversations, take the free 5-question quiz that's in the link below, and you're going to receive your vulnerability score. Scores of 75 to 100 indicate that you have a high degree of vulnerability in difficult conversations. Scores of 55 to 75 indicate that you have a moderate degree of vulnerability, and scores of 20 to 55 indicate you have a low degree of vulnerability in difficult conversations. After completing this quiz, if you want to take it and go to that next level, consider asking others to give you the feedback on how vulnerable you are in difficult conversations, and you can use these same questions that are in the quiz. Practicing vulnerability as a leader involves checking your MVP, motivation, vision, and paradigm, before you have the difficult conversation. Motivation. Is your motivation caring about others first, or is your motivation in the conversation to be right? Goals for a conversation matter, and without a positive reason for the conversation, it's less likely that the conversation will lead to positive changes. Vision. How do you see the result of the conversation going? Is it the best of what might be, or is your vision a list of all the things that could just go wrong? When you see a difficult conversation as a positive step in a journey towards building better relationships, it provides a sense of purpose and direction that inspires the best in you and others. Paradigm. Is your paradigm for the difficult conversation that real, transparent conversation will provide the best foundation for a healthy culture and your relationship? Or is your paradigm that it's best to avoid difficult conversations and you need to be guarded to manage your image? When the lens through which you see and perceive the difficult conversation is off, your results will turn out poorly. Often the word weakness is considered a synonym for vulnerability. However, being vulnerable as a leader takes strong leadership and creates significant amounts of leadership power, confidence, and influence in the relationship. Vulnerability is a courageous choice. Leaning into vulnerability in a difficult conversation is best modeled by leaders first. When a leader models vulnerability in a conversation, it establishes trust and safety for followers. And this display of vulnerability by a leader encourages the followers in turn to take risks with being vulnerable. And that vulnerability given is vulnerability received, leading to just improved communication, productivity, and relationships. Followers want to see that their leader cares for them and is open to learning. There's many different workplace benefits. In the modern crisis-driven workplace, leaders need empowered followers to take charge. But taking charge in a crisis can be risky for a follower. Vulnerability in the workplace creates that trust and collaboration that enables employees to take risks and get to that innovation. It also leads to better employee retentions and feelings of connection that improves the quality of the relationship and results in the better performance of the employee. There is no one complete checklist of actions that a leader can use to show vulnerability in every possible difficult conversation. However, the following list of leadership habits is compiled from proven research on mastering difficult conversations. You want to be transparent. Keep the conversation genuine, especially when it involves your mistakes. This doesn't mean sharing personal secrets. It means that metaphorically, you invite the person that you're speaking with into the front door of your house rather than just making them stand outside on the doorstep. And when you're talking behind that screen and managing your image, you're not as genuine. Being transparent pertains to both the logical aspects of the conversation as well as the emotional conversation parts of the conversation, your feelings about the other person and about the topic that you're discussing. Putting followers first is another key element. It's not about winning or having the best answer, but caring so much about followers and the desired outcome of the conversation that you're willing to risk failing. You're willing to put others first doesn't mean, though, that you think less of yourself in the conversation. You also want to ask for feedback and be willing to learn. Vulnerability is about being weak to defend your point of view and desiring to listen and learn something new. When asking for feedback, it's essential to remember that it's a gift given. When delivering a tough message, though, that has not been vetted or shared before, it can be best to be direct and to the point and then offer to discuss it later. That's going to allow time for the message to be processed both analytically and emotionally for the individual at their own pace before you asking for feedback and engaging them to think about it. Next, you want to demonstrate selfless love. Selfless love is the will the good of another person. As a leader, being vulnerable in a difficult conversation requires showing self-awareness, empathy, and compassion rather than speaking from a positional power. Self-awareness really just improves your ability to communicate clearly by understanding different perspectives. Empathy helps you listen and understand the feelings of the other person. And then compassion inspires you to take actions that are helpful. Lastly, taking action. Difficult conversations are costly when neglected. After you check your motivation, vision, and paradigm for effect, you will want to think about the what, where, how, and when for the conversation. You want to balance the need to prepare for the conversation, to set out to have the best conversation possible, but it's really easy to get caught in the trap of waiting for more information, leading to procrastination. In the most difficult conversations, you're probably never going to have all the information that you would like. Some key points you want to remember. Regardless of leadership levels, the amount of experience that you have, all leaders are going to struggle with this tension of being vulnerable or not in a conversation. Leadership vulnerability involves the willingness, though, to take risks that might end in failure, but they could also create the best of what might be in the organization. Practicing vulnerability as a leader involves checking your motivation, vision, and paradigm. Remember MVP, and it's before you have the conversation. Also remember, vulnerability is a courageous choice. When leaders model vulnerability in a conversation, it establishes trust and safety with the followers. Hey, if you listened to this point and you liked what you heard, like it, share it, talk about it on social media.